Hey everybody, this is Jonathan again. So what I wanted to talk to you about is whether or not it's immature to teach men in their 20s and 30s and even 40s, how to find a girlfriend and how to give a wife and, basically start a family. And we're talking about whether or not that's immature or whether or not that's creepy to teach, right? Or even guys that age to learn, whether or not it's creepy for guys that age to learn, right? So I'm an Orthodox Jew, and understanding Jewish theology, everybody is supposed to get married, everybody's supposed to have a wife and kids. The reason we do this is so that we can make babies and then, put productive citizens into the world. Like, you can have a baby that could be the president of the United States. You can have a baby that is a doctor that creates medical miracles that save lives, right? And that's from Judaism, right? Like, you're supposed to get married, make babies, create a family so that you can make this world a better place, right? And that's coming from Judaism, right? So I didn't understand, and there was some comments about the videos being a little bit immature and a little bit creepy, and about just in general teaching men at an older age is a little bit creepy, and yeah, it's a little bit immature, right? So I talked to some rabbis about it, and they gave me a few opinions on why it sounds creepy and why it sounds immature, right? So the first reason is older men may not, if you try to teach them, they might not have self-control, right? So most men, they go through school and they live with their parents or whatever, and they learn basic social skills through school, and they date and they meet girls, and their parents and teachers are there the whole way. And then they go to college and meet girls and stuff, and they have, some of them have whatever you call it, the people who work at the dorms, supervising them in this, or they may be a part of a fraternity and there may be some type of supervision, right? So then once they get out of college, right, so then they already learned self-control, they already learned appropriate behavior, and so they know how to talk to a woman in that manner as respectfully as possible, where they don't do no damage and don't come off as creepy because they learned all these things. And the argument is, if you try to teach a man in his 20s and 30s outside of college, well, they don't have any guidance, they don't have any chaperones, they don't have any supervision. So you just teach them, okay, this is how you talk to a girl, and send them into a club with free range to talk to whoever they want. And they don't have any type of supervision or anything. And this creates a problem because, like I said, they don't have any self-control because they have their jumping hormones and they don't have any self-control, and they don't necessarily know what's appropriate. And that's what's wrong with teaching men pickup artist techniques, because pickup artists, they just focus on taking the girl home. And we don't focus on that on this channel. We not focus on, hitting on girls and just hooking up with them that night. We don't focus on that. And, but a lot of guys don't understand why that's inappropriate. So one suggestion I would make is guys who learn this, they should have some kind of moral compass, right? So, like, I've always been religious, so yeah, I learned these skills later on, but I was always religious to where I always felt that God was watching me, and so I would go out, meet the girls, get the phone number, and that was it. Take them out on a date and see what happened on that. But that's because I always felt like God was my chaperone, okay? So if somebody is in a situation like that where they feel like, okay, God's their chaperoners, they have some kind of moral compass, I don't think it's a problem teaching an older man, how to find a girlfriend or a wife or a relationship. The second thing the rabbis told me was some people believe at a certain age, men should be out there being a productive and making a dent in the world and doing something positive with their time, right? But then the other side to that is, okay, a lot of people have emotional needs they need met, psychological needs they need to be met, physical needs they need to be met. And if you starve those people of those needs, it can hurt them drastically. You know, it could lead them down a road to sin, which one of the rabbis was talking to me about. Like, you know, even Rebbe Nachman Miuman, the rabbi in Breslov, was talking about how when a man reaches a certain age and he starts to talk to women, you should go find him a wife as soon as possible so he can have a way to put out that energy in a positive way. Because if you say, oh no, you're creepy, and you lock that man up and you tell him, okay, you can't do nothing, you know, those desires build up and build up and build up and build up, and one day the man will snap and run out there and try to, you know, let out that energy inappropriately, right? They'll run out and they'll be the first one to pick up the pickup artist material. They'll be the first one to go to the clubs. They'll be the first ones to be trying to put, you know, pills in people's drinks. And the reason is because you're starving them, right? You know, everybody deserves, you know, for their emotional and biological needs to be met. And if you starve them, it's like starving a dog. You know, if you starve a dog and it's a little nice dog, one day it's going to get so hungry it's going to bite your leg off because it's so hungry, right? And so it's like, how do you get that positive energy? How do you get that sexual energy put into a positive place where it can be raised up wholly to God and it doesn't hurt anybody? So that's the one thing that we're talking about. And I think, like I said, it's okay to learn. If you're an older man, it's okay to learn how to find a girlfriend and find a wife if you do it positively and you're doing it with a godly intention and you're trying to actually start a family, make babies, and put little lights in the world to create a better place on this earth. I think then that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Number 3 is the rabbi was telling me how a lot of people have this idea of perfection, right? And he was telling me a story about how this girl goes to prom, or she was going to go to prom, and she had 2 dates. She was going to ask these 2 guys out, and both of them turned her down. And they were both perfect. And they knew how to talk to women. They knew how to act around women, and they turned them down. And then she had some other nerdy guys talking to her that didn't have experience, and she had turned them down. And she goes to the prom alone. And lo and behold, later on, you know, what happens? Those guys that had turned her down, right? They ended up being horrible people in the first place. And they ended up being in a string of relationships that didn't last, being in a string of divorces, being in a string of like maybe problems with the law and a whole bunch of stuff, cheating on women, and you know. And she was so concerned that they had all of this experience and they were real men, and she was turning down the guys that didn't have the experience. And it turned out that the guys that didn't have the experience, they were the ones ending up in these long-term relationships and getting married and having kids and, you know, having a good life and, you know, having beautiful wives and all this stuff handed to them. You know what I'm saying? So it's also the idea of perfection, right? And nobody's perfect. And if somebody doesn't have the skills, that's okay, because it doesn't matter. They still should be able to have a chance to have a wife and kids, to make babies and put little lights out in the world to make this world a better place. So the takeaway from this is the idea that it's okay to be in your 20s, 30s, and even 40s not having any dating experience, and it's okay to learn those skills because you're going to be able to one day, you know, make babies and put positive lights into the world that'll probably change the world and make it a better place. Okay, so all of you guys out there, when you're learning these skills, you're not doing anything wrong. Okay, all right, everybody, this is Jonathan. Like my channel, subscribe, like this video. You can make a comment below and I'll get back to you. Also, I'm setting up some interviews with a couple of rabbis. I might be doing an interview with a rabbi tonight, and we're going to see how that goes, and we're going to be talking about relationships. All right, I'm out, y'all. Peace.